Ramadan Mubarak to all our listeners.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
Ramadan is a blessed month that brings us close to Allah, brings us close to ourselves, brings us close to our families, brings us close to our community.
صوتك جاي أحلى الحين شيخ. ممكن براكتس شوية على التلفزيون وكذا.
That will bring you as close as ever to your
بتحصل على نت.
Join Hatim Al Abdissaalam in Come Close, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. We repeat at 9 to 10 p.m. here on the Nation Station.
ساعة 2 مو شردة.
رحمة للعالمين رحمة للعالمين.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A lovely evening to all of you, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your fasting and prayers and supplication, and to continue to give us the strength to fast the rest of this month, and to be loyal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to finish the race till the end. I'm your host Hatim Al Abdissaalam, and we are in your program Come Close, and joining me is engineer Muhammad Farooq. Assalamu alaikum Muhammad.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
I'm wonderful, alhamdulillah.
Muhammad, today we have a series of topics that we're going to talk about in the coming 4 days. So, to introduce our listeners to the topics that we're going to talk about, and why am I mentioning these 4 together? Because they are interrelated, and they are a cycle that one follows the other. So today we're going to start with the first topic, which is marriage disputes.
Right.
Marriage disputes. And tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to talk about domestic violence. And the following day we're going to talk about cold relationship between spouses. And the last day we're going to talk about divorce.
Right.
So these are the 4 cycle elements about marital relationships that we intend to cover during these 4 days, inshallah. And we want your maximum contribution to the topic, because me and brother Muhammad, we are not experts in this field, but we are just sharing some light on some aspects that we think that that may help in resolving these issues that are happening within couples, inshallah. So the number is to call, as you know, this is a live show, is 24 60 20 58. 24 60 20 58. The show is repeated in the evening from 9 till 10, and is also repeating the following day in Fajr time from 5 till 6, inshallah. Muhammad, where do we start when we talk about marital disputes?
Okay, first of all, we'll look at the definition.
Yes.
Just what we do for all our programs, to make sure that our listeners are on the same page. And the second thing, which is obvious but still needs to be highlighted, is that throughout this series and even our previous series, we have selected topics which impact humanity.
Yes.
So people of any faith, and even people who still haven't decided upon any faith, they can also benefit from this guidance, so to speak. So we'll look at the disputes and discords that take place in a marital scene, in a domestic environment where you have a husband and a wife. So it's said that discord is something that happens because of stubbornness, pride, anger, hurt, and bitterness prevents the communication.
Yes.
Okay, so the key here is when we lose communication between each other, and I'm not referring to just one person talking and the other listening, or both of them talking and none of them listening, but proper communication. This is where the problem starts from. And it is normal to argue, but it is not normal to argue all the time with hostility. So as an example, if any married couple is having more sad days than happy days, this is one of the symptoms that things are gonna hit rocky road down the line, and it's better that they take preventive action then and there.
Yes. One of the reasons that I wanted to do these shows, Muhammad, is in the past few months I've been trying to counsel many couples in their disputes, and I came to realize that the disputes among couples are increasing on a daily basis, and sometimes some of the issues between couples are severe, and sometimes they are very petty and very small, and they are not worth the argument. But because both parties are stubborn and everyone is holding on to their own opinion and they think they are right, then the small issue turns out to be a very big issue, and sometimes it gets physical. And when I say physical, I don't mean only husbands hitting their wives, I mean also the other way around. It's like a UFC match in the bedroom. So I decided, and I said, you know what, this is a very important issue, and we need to talk about. And I know when it comes to the issues of the marriage relationship, it's a sort of a taboo where people don't like to open up and speak up about their personal issues, personal problems, and they are sort of concealing the secrets of the house.
A lot of them prefer to suffer in silence instead of getting counseling.
Which is it is recommended to conceal the secrets of a house, but if it means that the house is going to break and the marriage is going to be resolved, then someone, a third party, needs to be involved, and you need to resolve those issues. Otherwise they will accumulate one day after the other, and one day the marriage is going to end sadly in a very terrible way.
Exactly. And the tell signs are already there. Like if you're arguing a lot of time and then you don't care, you're arguing in front of others. If you have friends over for dinner, and worse, you're arguing in front of your children, okay, and you just don't care what's going on. And this is the point where you need to take an intellectual path instead of an emotional one, because you're already on an emotional path.
Yes.
If you're being stubborn and you're screaming and you're bitter all the time, these are the symptoms. And sadly, very few people, especially young couples, they take stock of themselves at this point. Normally when they come to you for counseling, they've already passed a lot of points. A lot of damage is done, and you have to reverse that damage.
And this is what we want to talk about today, Muhammad. Is people should not wait until the dispute between them reaches a level where there is no turning back.
Point of no return.
Yeah, you start from the beginning. Once you see there is a problem, then if you feel that it is out of your hand and you can't control the disputes that are going on within the household, please consult other people. Consult your parents, consult a third party that is trusted, or go to a counselor, or go to a religious leader. Whatever the case is, do something about it if you really care about this marriage and you want it to continue.
I mean, it makes sense. If you have physical symptoms, you go and you see a doctor, right?
Yes.
So why not treat this thing with the same importance? And there is one thing I want everyone to remember, starting from myself. You know, root cause is mostly selfishness, okay, or arrogance. Root cause is selfishness that creates the problem, and then arrogance is the one that stops from any solution. So a lot of the times, it's selfishness means like
it's about me,
not we, me, okay? Or and
I
didn't get this attention, you know, so and so didn't smile at me, and you know, I felt I was embarrassed, I was neglected, you know, why it was like that. So when we focus on doing our duties or our fraid instead of, you know, complaining about our hukuk, then most probably things would be okay, at least in the short run. And of course, this is expected from both parties. So whatever we're going to cover in this show, inshallah ta'ala, a lot of it is common ground. We're not going to pick on the sisters, and we're not going to, you know, hammer on the brothers. It's going to be equal treatment, inshallah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But again, I would like to remind our listeners that we can't do this show without you. So please, you are all married out there, or most of you, and who is not married, we can find them a wife or husband.
We make dua for that.
Yeah, but most of those who are married, every one of you has gone through this cycle,
or is going through
this cycle. So sharing with us your experience in this topic will really add value. So please, the lines are open. You can call us on 24 60 20 58, 24 60 20 58.
As a matter of fact, this is how we learn. I'm not saying just go and have zero knowledge and start counseling everyone, and God forbid, you know, accelerate the process of divorce. But if you start counseling others, there is, first of all, there is a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if your intention is straight. But with intention, you need the proper knowledge as well.
Yes,
with every case that you will counsel, you will get to learn something new, and then maybe you can document it in a book or something like that without mentioning the names, and this will benefit others as well, you know.
One of the lessons that I really benefited Muhammad from counseling couples is that always listen to the story from both sides.
Right.
Because you might hear the story from one side and take sides.
Yeah.
But if you hear the story from both sides, you will understand the magnitude of the problem.
It's hard to be unbiased, especially when you have your own baggage in some shape or form.
Definitely. And the other thing that I learned also from this experience, Muhammad, that every single case that you handle, it affects you emotionally.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, all these negativity that you keep on hearing from these disputes, they affect you, they affect your life, they affect your marriage. That's why my advice to the brothers or the sisters who are counseling couples, you know, have a balance.
Yeah, take a break.
Take it easy.
Yeah. And
don't
by the way,
full-fledged.
Yeah, the counselors also need counseling every so often.
Yes, and if you feel that you cannot add value to the problem or to the dispute, please walk away and don't continue listening to the problems while you can't offer a solution or be a mediator between them.
Exactly, it's not a soap opera for your entertainment.
Yes, so don't act like Dr. Phil or Oprah. Anyways, Muhammad, so this is a problem. Dispute is a problem.
Yeah.
Now let us wear the hat of doctors and find out what is the root cause for these disputes. What might be the reason for triggering such disputes in a marriage? Okay. But before we go into that, let us also make a statement very clear that every single couple on earth goes through this cycle of dispute.
Right.
The only difference is
how they handle
and the severity of the dispute. Some of them argue for 2 minutes and then they are hugging each other later on. Some of them argue for 3 minutes and they don't talk for 1 week.
Hello.
I think we have our first call for the show. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, brother?
Fine, thank you. How are you, brother Mazhar?
Good, alhamdulillah, good, mashallah.
It's
also very, very, very important subject. And as you know that in Quran, Allah Ta'ala has taken more number of times about Mr. and Mrs. rather than parents.
Yes.
So the more what I want to tell you is, I think most of the reason external pressure makes couples to get divorce or issues rather than their own this one. Both are good to each other. Probably sometimes their wife's side or the husband's side, family people involved, they'll create one kind of atmosphere between both of them because they don't, probably some people they don't like with the young happy couple.
Yes.
I'm not happy, why others should be happy? Probably, I'm not telling. With my this one I can say that usually what we have seen, the external pressure is giving more issues than internal Mr. and Mrs. problem.
Yes. Thank you very much, Brother Mazhar. Thank you.
Yes.
It's interesting that some phenomena are common in the East and the West.
Yes.
They are global.
Definitely. Now, Muhammad, we start with the problems. So the first problem that we have is stress.
Yeah.
What sort of stress are we talking about?
Well, stress could be anything as simple as what happens to you at work. Unknowingly, you take it home. Maybe it's reflected from your face, or when you open your mouth, it seems like you're in a grumpy mood.
So
okay.
It's in both ways. So if the husband had a bad day at work and comes back and takes that baggage from work to home,
exactly, yeah.
And at the same time the wife maybe spent the whole day with the kids and cooking and cleaning and very stressful,
yeah.
She also has a baggage.
Exactly.
And once a small spark triggers between them, it's boom.
Exactly, yeah.
While it's just a normal statement.
Yeah. So talking about these things is easy, but when you're actually in that environment and you're one of the stakeholder in the scene that which is played out, then it becomes very tough. But like I said, it should not be like this daily. Okay, maybe once a week or once a month or twice or thrice a month you come home upset.
Yes.
Okay, so you make an effort to cool down before you enter your house. You have a drive back home, right?
Yes.
It takes you like half an hour or whatever. And same with the owner of the house, with the lady. Okay, so she should also at least 80 or 90% of the time or 70% of the time try to make you feel welcome, like she was waiting for you.
Yes.
We do understand they do a lot, especially in terms of dealing with children and keeping the house clean, and then dealing with the external factors like Brother Mazhar was saying.
Yes.
However, this cannot be an excuse that every single day she greets you with a frown, or worse, she doesn't even greet you. You go home and you just crash on the couch and you see each other in the evening.
Okay, let us share some secrets or tips in regards to the nature of the man and the nature of the woman. The man needs at least half an hour to 40 minutes to shut down when he comes back to work. So that's the time where he doesn't want to talk to anyone, he doesn't want to share any stories, he doesn't want to listen to any stories, he doesn't want to listen to complain. So when the husband comes back from work, that's his time for him to reprogram his mind, to remove the office hat and wear the husband, the father hat. So he needs this at least half an hour and 40 minutes.
All right.
So the wife has to understand that every single man goes through this, and they would notice that the husband loves a particular chair and watches a particular program or reads a particular newspaper at that time when he comes back, because it's a pattern in the male brain for him to shut down and then start all over again. Now for a woman, when it comes to emotions, they are almost triple the size of a man. So when you come home and you find your wife is in distress, sometimes she doesn't welcome you, sometimes she's had a bad day with the children. There is nothing personal. She doesn't hate you. She's not doing this intentionally for you because you're so and so. No, it's just that she is stressed, and you need to understand that when she says something, she doesn't mean it to hurt your feelings.
Right.
So don't take it personally. So if she says, where have you been? You were supposed to be back from work at 4, now it's 5. She doesn't mean to question you. She's just worried about you. But the expressions that come out, they come out with emotion.
Right.
So this is when it comes to stress.
Next one is money.
Before we go into money, Muhammad, how do some couples overcome stress? Because for sure stress will always be there. So having a work-life balance, having breaks, having regular holidays, going out for dinner and so on, they release these stress. Or even doing sports.
Exactly. You can do gym together if you have the facility, or even a small setup at home. Like you said, once a week or so, make an appointment in your calendar, just like you do for your office meetings, that this time is reserved. We must go out for dinner.
Yes.
And you can, take it one step further. You can go to the masjid once a week or twice a week, grab salah over there, and then go out and get dinner. So try to spend some quality time together, and ask her, what is her definition of quality time?
Yes.
I'm sure it must be pretty close to what yours is. So there are ways out.
And for sure, Muhammad, there should be 2 types of quality time. Quality time for both of you, and quality time for you only, and for her.
But there should be balance in this.
There should be balance, of course.
If every year I'm taking holidays with my friends and going to the forest for 2 weeks, then some counseling is needed.
Everything in life has a balance.
Yeah,
don't overdo it.
Right.
Yeah, when we say you have quality time for yourself, you go bowling with your friends and you go and have mishkak and that's it. Yeah, don't overdo it. And at the same time, the lady also needs a break from the kids and the household, and she needs to go out to the salon, she needs to go to a coffee shop, to go to meet up with friends, to go shopping. Give her your debit card, and with a big smile, she needs
or give her somebody else's debit card.
So we'd like to remind our listeners that this is a live show. The lines are open. You can call us and tell us what you think the reasons behind these disputes that are happening in a marriage couple. Our numbers are 24 60 20 58, 24 60 20 58. The
next reason is money.
Okay.
All right.
What about money?
Okay. Now there are different scenarios which can play out. One is that the wife working outside of the home. This needs to be discussed before marriage. And second thing, the money she will make, will she keep all of it, which is her Islamic right, or will she spend some on her family out of her own free will? Because later on this becomes a bone of contention. Like shaitan will come and put in your mind, well, wait a minute, you're working day and night, and she's working day and night, or day only, and then she gets to keep everything. All right. And you're the one who's spending everything on her and on the children.
Yes.
Okay. Which is Islamically your duty.
Yes.
But still, it's gonna create a little
tension.
bump in your heart. Okay. So this is something that needs to be discussed.
Well, this is the thing about the concept of equality and all that stuff, is that we tend to forget that we have Islamic guidelines. That's why when it comes to inheritance, the man gets more than a woman, because the duties and responsibilities that you have for the people under your arm, it is your responsibility.
Exactly.
Even if your wife is a millionaire, she doesn't have to spend a single penny in the house out of her own will.
Well, if she wants to spend a penny, that would be nice.
If she wants to spend, then it is nice. It is kind of her. She gets a reward for it. But as you said, this understanding has to be there from the beginning.
Exactly.
And always, Muhammad, the topic of money is very sensitive. For both, especially for the men. And a scenario, Muhammad, is that when the husband spends, when he spends for his family, when, let's say, for a holiday or outing or clothes or whatever, and he's in distress, sometimes the wives think that he is in distress or he's sad because he has, spent some money. He's lost some money. But actually, most of the time, the husband is distressed because he can't do more. He's limited. He would love to do more for his family, but because of the limited resources, he can't. This is his capability. So he's sad, he's distressed. So try and hide your emotions when it comes to when you're spending the money with your family. Don't show them that you're spending it and you have a frown on your face.
Exactly. And one of the things that you can do to kind of not go down that road is that create a budget, track your expenses, your income, your investments, how you're going to deal with debt if you have any. And for all the sisters out there who've been blessed with a lot of money, keep Sayyidina Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, as your role model.
Yes.
Okay. So there have been very interesting stories in the history, and these were not stories; these were actually the lives led by some of the pious people.
Yes. Now, next we move on to
in-laws and extended families.
MashaAllah.
See, I told you, I kept a very systematic order.
The in-laws. Okay, before you go into details about the in-law, I would like to say that the misconception that is out there about the evil in-laws, it is something created by the media. It does exist. I don't deny that it does exist. But
it's inflated by the media.
We have a lot of successful stories with in-laws.
But they're never highlighted in the soap operas.
Yes, it is not always the case that the in-laws are the enemy. And most of the time, the problem starts with when the husband indicates to the wife that, you come in second place, and my parents come in the first place. Even though in reality your parents have to come in the first place, you don't have to indicate it, you don't have to say it, you don't have to publish it, to undermine your wife or degrade her by telling her that, whatever my parents need, they come first before you. So always, be sensitive to the needs of the wife as well.
They say, be a man and step up to the duty. I say, be a Muslim and do justice.
Yes.
I was listening to our beloved Sheikh Mufti Mink's talk when I was driving over here, and he mentioned something very interesting, that the word obedient is not used towards parents. Compassion and mercy and other words are used. So obedience is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but still you have to be compassionate and be merciful and be just.
Yes.
Okay, so some people will say, well, I don't care, my mother is right, whatever she says goes. Brothers, that's a disaster. Most probably you'll have a unpleasant and unhappy life here in this dunya, because you're oppressing someone, by thinking that you're being super nice to your mother. You're not doing justice. So justice will be done in the hereafter. This is a lot common, especially in the subcontinent, unfortunately. And it's been going on for generations and generations, and this is one sad example of culture over religion. It's very prevalent.
Now, the couple, once they are married, Muhammad, and they are living with the in-laws, and that used to be very common in the Middle East and maybe in the Indian subcontinent. That has changed because of this misconception that living with the in-laws is a nightmare. There is no privacy, there is no saying what you want, there is, you are treated like the kids of the house. So that is not always the case. Again, we cannot generalize that everyone who is living with his in-laws, he is miserable, he is having a hard time. Some in-laws are very sweet, very kind, very considerate, and they allow the privacy of the couples, and it's enough that they have opened their home to accommodate you and help you when you are starting your journey as a couple. So I think this should go back to the way it used to be, and people should be more loving than just having this stigma of the in-laws.
Well, I agree with you, but we need to look at how it should be and how it is.
Yes, tell us how it is.
Well, we all know how it is, but what I suggest is that...
Shoot yourself in the foot, Muhammad. Tell us how it is.
I'm not going to make a lot of friends after this. No, see, here's the thing.
Yes.
My take on this thing is that once a boy and a girl gets married, give them their space. Okay, let them slug it out for a few years. Seriously, till they really get to know each other.
Okay.
I'm not just talking about the honeymoon period. I'm talking about really few years, like 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is. Because see, we need to realize that in the old days, parents were sweet and grandparents were sweet.
Yes.
Hatim, we're not. When we become grandparents, if we are still alive,
yes,
you think we're going to be sweet and nice and all that? So
I don't know about you, Muhammad, but I'm going to be sweet, inshallah.
Inshallah, all of us. So the thing is, you have to see where this equation is being applied and in what time frame. Are we talking about 100 years back, 50 years back, now, or 50 years from now?
Yeah.
So my take on this is give them some privacy.
Okay.
And, eventually you can live next door to each other, But please have separate units,
Okay.
Like I was reading somewhere about Sayyidina Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, then in those days house used to be a hujra, yani a room.
Yes.
But whatever it was, they were always given a separate thing that this is your domain, you maintain it, you're the man of the house.
Definitely.
The other thing is, advice should only be given to children when they ask for it.
Yes.
Make dua for them, don't interfere in their affairs. Okay, don't experiment on them, and they will come back to you because they love you, they care for you.
Yeah, this is important to highlight, Muhammad, that the in-laws or the parents, they give advice out of love, even if they are overdoing it.
But out of emotion.
Out of emotion.
If it's out of love. If it's out of intellect, then it will be well received.
Yes.
Okay.
And normally, what they do, they give the advice based on their experience in life and what they went through. But not necessarily what you're going through is identical to what your parents
I told you times have changed.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot take a 70-year equation and then apply it on me. The results are not going to be the results which were there for you as an example. So again, living in a common household, yes, it has its own merits and blessings. The grandchildren are in the visibility of the grandparents, and in that age, one of their biggest blessings is grandchildren.
Yes. Because
we have grown up. They cannot hug us in the same way or pick us up in their lap, but for them this is like a lifeline. So we should not deny them that. However, what I'm saying is, again, there should be some kind of a balance, and this can vary from different culture to different environment.
And the effect of the in-laws, Muhammad, goes even beyond before marriage.
Yeah.
Because the man or the woman, they have been raised in a household in a particular way, and they get these messages, these instructions from their parents on how to treat their future spouse. So sometimes you get fathers telling their sons that you should be a man, you should be tough, you should slap the woman around, you shouldn't allow her to go out.
Don't tell her you love her.
Yeah, don't tell her
They'll
you love
spoil
her.
her. Yeah.
Don't allow her to express herself.
Yeah.
So all these
keep
things,
her away from her mother, otherwise she'll get bad advice from there.
So all these things, they affect the marriage later on, but you have been pre-programmed by the parents.
Yeah, because we love them, we trust them, and whatever they say, oh, dad must be right.
Yes.
It again reminds me of the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam in Quran.
Yes.
So it's tough, but somebody's gotta get up and take a few steps. Otherwise, we're gonna keep on having broken homes.
Okay, I think we have insulted the in-laws enough.
No, I would not say that.
Yes. So what's next? What
we have been honest enough.
Okay, let us remind our listeners that they can call us on our show. It's a live show. The lines are open. Tell us what you think. Don't let us get into trouble alone. Please do call. Our number is 24 60 20 58 24 60 20 58. The next problem.
Yeah, next issue, not problem.
Next
issue is parenting.
Okay.
So again, out of love and sincerity, a husband and a wife might totally differ on how they want to raise their son and their daughter.
Yes.
Again, this could be as per their own experiences, which could be different. Okay. Solution for that, obvious, is...
Before that, we can give an example.
Okay.
So, you find some couples, the father wants or allows the kids to speak in Arabic only, and the mother does not agree with that, and she wants to speak to the children in English, and they have an argument that the first language in the house should be Arabic, and the mother said no, they have to speak both. And you find this very petty problem accelerating and becoming so big, and it becomes to a dispute, maybe even to divorce. Sometimes your children test you because they know a father has a different opinion in a particular matter, and the mother has a different opinion in that matter. So they test you. So, for example, the father, the child goes to the father and says, "You know what, Dad, I want to go and sleep at my cousin's house." And the dad says, "No, you're not allowed." And then the son goes to the mother and says, "Mom, I want to go and sleep to my cousin's house, at my cousin's house." So the mother, she has to be in agreement with the father. They should be on the same page. If the mother says yes and the father says no, you create confusion.
You know what's
in the
the
household.
you know what's the solution?
Yes.
The mother needs to tell the father that you tell him yes, he can. Instead of him saying no and she's saying yes, if they both agree, like you said,
Yes.
she should tell him that you tell the son that it's okay, you can go and you can stay.
Yeah. One of the also reasons of disputes in parenting is the physical punishment of children. Yeah, some fathers, they become very violent and they hit the children. They don't leave room for lecturing, for advising, for counseling the children. The easiest way out is to slap them around. And because of the soft and loving nature of the mother, she does not accept to see their children being hurt.
Turn into pulp.
Yeah, so then the dispute arises.
Exactly. So solution for that is that both mom and dad need to look into the teachings of Islam when it comes to parenting, and they're very extensive.
Yes.
And obviously upon him, he's left numerous examples for us that we can follow. Okay, so
And
that will reduce the conflict.
And they can
minimize it.
sit from the beginning before even having the children and discuss about these things.
Exactly.
They should be on the same page because
Exactly.
they are in the same team. They are not in opposite teams.
Yeah, and by the way, one more thing. This issue becomes more sensitive when in a same household you have some biological children and some stepchildren.
Yes.
So it becomes more of a sensitive issue.
Okay, let us take this call. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, alhamdulillah.
Yes, tell us what you think.
Yes, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you, both of you, for keeping us awake while we are driving back home.
You're welcome.
And
You're
good luck
welcome.
to your in-laws tonight.
Yeah. We're gonna be shot today.
With regards to marriage, when I was about to get married, my father gave me this sort of like how should I say, like an advice. He said, "You and your sister, you were raised in the same family, same ethics, and you still had a disagreement and fight.
Yes.
So imagine marrying somebody outside that house, outside this house. Of course, for sure, there will always be disagreement and fight. There's never a perfect life or perfect marriage, but it's what you do about it. You have to
Subhanallah.
compromise. You have to listen to one another. You have to communicate, and honesty from day one." So I took that advice, and to be honest with you, from day one, we've alhamdulillah, with 3 kids down the line, we have many issues here and there, but we always talk about them. And yes, every once a week or once a month, we do go out and leave the kids at home, because we need that us time to sort of like refresh and listen to one another and have a quality time. And sense of humor, to me, is one of the most important things, I believe, apart from religion. And my wife and I, alhamdulillah, we get along quite well with
Mashallah.
kids, because we don't take everything seriously, especially when it comes to kids.
So that's what I wanted just to say.
Your good name, sir?
Yusuf.
Yusuf, I want you to do something. Is your father alive?
My father passed away 2 years ago.
Subhanallah. If your father was alive, I would say go and kiss the forehead of this wise man. But because he is dead, I want you to pray for him every single prayer you pray.
Shukran, I will. I do always.
Jazakallah khairan. Jazakallah khairan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful advice. Okay, should we move on to the next point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Next one is domestic violence. And this is generally when one spouse is abusive towards the other and or the children as well. And this is a sign of frustration, and this is what happens when you leave the dispute festering and you don't address to it in an early stage.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, we're going to do inshallah a separate show
so
on
inshallah
this thing.
tomorrow we're going to speak in details about domestic violence. So we're not going to ponder a lot on this issue. We'll move to the next one.
Exactly. Next one is incompatibility.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, this could be in terms of personalities, like spiritually or psychologically, or it could be
status even sometimes.
Exactly. Or
from different family or tribes,
lineages,
and
castes and things of that nature, and also from resources like finances. Okay, now these things could be well defined, meaning that you knew about each other's situation before you got married, but you were extremely in love and you were willing to overlook all these factors. Or it could be that
you didn't know, maybe.
Yeah, especially you didn't know, either somebody didn't take the pain to explain to you, thinking, oh, after I marry him it'll be okay, or after I marry him I'll change him. Yeah, it's a very big disastrous statement. Or it could be somebody lied to you intentionally.
Yeah, and you gave me some example of what happens in some countries.
It does.
What does happen, so that our listeners
all right, it's not normal practice, but we've heard of stories where the parents have gone to check out a proposal for their son, and for example they were shown one daughter, and then the son was married to another daughter, and after the marriage they found out that
she's not the one.
She's not the one. Things of that nature.
Subhanallah.
And which is deception, and it's quite sad, but things like these do actually happen.
That's
and in the West, some of them, in terms of finances, they call them gold diggers.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why it's very important for parents to be very honest and open when these proposals come, and do not neglect the importance of telling the truth when it comes to this.
Exactly.
I remember one of the brothers, he went to propose, and during the proposal the father of the bride, he told this young man, he said, listen my son, my daughter is a medical doctor and she's going to be working very long hours, and she would have on calls, she might not be around some nights, you will have to take care of the children. Do you agree with these terms? And he said, yes, I agree. So up in advance you have been informed that this is going to be the case. Yeah, so you don't want to be shocked in the marriage to find out, oh, my wife throughout the day she's not at home. So you need to know such things, and especially when it comes to illnesses, disability, or certain habit, or certain background which you need to know. You don't want to get married to someone knowing that she used to be a drug dealer and she was in prison for 20 years and now she's your wife, or she had 3 husbands before you. So all these information are very vital.
We should have done this show outside of Ramadan, really. By the way, your friend is a very wise man who is, they told him she's not going to be around in the house all the time. I said, Adi, maafi mushkil. He's happy.
He wants to get married that time, so he says, okay, Adi.
He was a wise man. He said, well, if she's not at home all the time, we'll fight less.
Subhanallah.
So anyways, again, in this case, we're looking at we are right and everybody else is wrong. We need to get rid of that mentality, and so we need to develop tolerance and respect, and in terms of diversity we need to respect that as well. And the other thing is, keep in mind, if we're not selfish and for example the other spouse lacks in some way, we should step up to help them. Okay, so it's not always like, okay, how is she going to support me? Is she going to support me emotionally? Will she be there for me when I'm depressed? Okay, how strong is she financially? Think about what you can do for her.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it's going to have to be give and take and compromise. Like in some ways she can step up, in certain domains, and in other you can't just be a parasite and say, okay, I married you, here, take care of me, cook for me, clean for me, and when I'm upset, listen to me and advise me and take care of my children, and that's pretty silly. Doesn't work like this. And
most of the time men think and they have this wrong misconception, this misconception that they're getting married to a maid, because Islamically she is not supposed to cook and clean and
not only made for himself but for his parents also.
So you need to understand that this is a partnership, that she is married for your comfort, for both your comforts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're married because you like each other, you're supporting one another, you are partners in this marriage. No one works for the other.
Exactly. And I like to mention one verse from the Quran here. This is in chapter 30 verse 21. And of his signs is that he created you from yourself mates, that you may find tranquility in them. Okay, now that's like the opposite of discord and disputes. And he placed between you affection and mercy. Okay, indeed in that are signs for a people who give thought. Now this ayah is really amazing, and I know I have quoted this number of times. First of all, it mentions affection first. So when we get married, we're really emotional about each other, and we're in love with each other, and everything she says is just fine, and even when she gets angry it's very cute, right? And then later on down the line, as we start to get old and we have kids, then we need more of the mercy.
Yes.
And then at the end of the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for people who give thought. He doesn't say for people who are emotional. So he's inviting us to be intellectual about this whole thing. There's a cycle we're going to go through. She's not going to look like the way she looked when you married her. Neither will you. Okay, your mindset, your priorities, your fears, your aspiration, your desires, everything's going to change, and it's a natural progression. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
The issue is we need to accept them, these changes, and then adjust ourselves accordingly. We can't expect the other spouse to have all the change and then we want to be the same way we were.
I think one of the also main problems that arouses the disputes among couples, and I'll have to say that on air, is intimacy.
Yeah.
When there is lack of intimacy between the couples, the main purpose of marriage is to fulfill your desires in the right channels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you.
So the generation progresses.
Yes. So if there is no intimacy between the couples, they are living like a brother and a sister, that will definitely trigger.
Yeah.
Because intimacy solves almost 80% of the disputes that couples have.
We're going to do a show on that about cold relationships. Yeah.
Yes, inshallah. I think after this month of Ramadan, both me and you are going to be banned from broadcasting anything.
Inshallah not. There's more khair.
Inshallah.
Okay. Yeah, the next reason which is becoming more prominent now is interfaith, intercultural marriages. We always had some sort of issues with the intercultural marriages, but now there's more of the interfaith marriages also, where we see a lot of people reverting to Islam, ladies and gents.
Yes.
And in some of the extreme cases, like for example, depending on different circumstances, one or both spouses has to leave their biological family for whatever reason, safety reason or whatever it could be. It's not prescribed by Islam, but it just so happens that they fear for their life. If they are in the same environment, they have to leave and then come and adjust to a complete different environment. Well, guess what? Once you start hitting the rocky wave, then you have nothing to fall back on. You don't have a safety net anymore. You burnt all bridges with your mom and dad and your brothers and sisters. So this leads you into an extremely uncomfortable and unpleasant situation. And initially they might feel guilt about leaving their family, but later on it becomes tough for them to actually go back. So the culture versus religion war, this is another thing, and children are the main victims of this setup.
Okay, so now we move on to prevention, Muhammad. I think there are main three prevention items. The first one is pre-education before marriage.
Yeah, what they call matchmaking. Yeah.
Before matchmaking is pre-education, is to learn about this marriage. Why are you getting married in the first place? And this is the role of your parents to educate you, and roles of institutions like now in the Ministry of Social Development, they have a specific workshop for people who intend to get married.
Excellent idea.
You are trained for almost 5 to 6 weeks on certain skills on how to become a husband or a wife, and that qualifies you and gives you awareness in certain issues when it comes to marriage. And then you have the selection of your spouse.
That's the matchmaking.
Make sure you
do it for the right reason out of the four.
Do it for the right reason,
do it for deen.
When you select the right wife or husband, then it solves almost half of your problems. And what else?
The other one is like it's called matchmaking. This is above and beyond deen. Of course, obviously, first you have to make sure their deen is okay, and they do the salah and things of that nature. But then you have to look at their mindset, their we call mizaj, their personality.
Yes.
Okay. You think your daughter will be happy with this guy? Most probably, or most probably not. What are the chances?
Yes.
Okay. Same with the guy also.
And let us not forget the spiritual side when it comes to choosing your spouse or getting married.
Exactly.
First is the dua, the supplication. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the right wife, and then you ask advice from people who are people of wisdom, people who know, people who can help you out in finding out more about these families, and then praying istikhara, which is also asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the right choice.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you might be caught in a decision you don't know whether to accept or not. Then consult Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who is best to consult than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we come to the end, Muhammad. We need to talk about the solutions.
Yeah.
You know, these disputes, they happen in every household.
Okay.
What's the way forward? How do we solve these problems?
Okay, I'll just cover them real quickly. First of all, both spouses need to do their duties as per the Quran and Sunnah. They say it's not what you can the other can do for you, it's what you can do for them.
Yes.
If you're thinking that way, most probably the other person will think the same way. The other three things is, first of all, is forgive others, make dua for each other, and then consult each other. Don't just shut them out. And where did I get this from? There's a wonderful ayah in Quran, in chapter 3, verse number 159, where it says, so pardon them. This is part of the ayah. So pardon them, ask forgiveness for them, and consult them in the matter, and when you have decided, then rely upon Allah. Indeed, Allah loves those who rely upon Him. So these are some of the characteristics of a leader. So be a leader in your home. Let your wife be a leader in the home, so by following these principles. And finally, try to spend quality time together. This is very important, because miscommunication happens when there is a gap, when we don't see each other.
Yes.
Polarization develops, and that's what's happening. When we talked about Islamophobia a while ago, that was one of the core reasons for that. So these are some of the advices that we can share with our listeners, in addition, obviously, to the spiritual side.
One of the advices also, Muhammad, resolve all your issues in the bedroom. Don't allow the people in the house to find out that there is a dispute, whether they are your kids, your in-laws, your neighbors, your cat, your parrot. Keep it among yourselves.
Especially parrot.
If you can't resolve the issue, then seek assistance of those who are mediators, who are not unbiased, who are wise in their decisions. And even if you have to go to an external party like a counselor, then do that to save your marriage.
Exactly.
And the second advice is patience, and don't take things personally.
Exactly.
Always give excuses for your spouse.
Right.
Whatever you hear, whatever you see, be considerate.
Yeah.
And also do compromise.
Yeah.
Come to the middle.
Exactly.
Even if it's not your mistake, it's his mistake, then you be better than them, and you always start the negotiation process with your spouse.
Yeah, keep in mind what's
the Prophet ﷺ says, وَخَيْرُهُمَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأ بِالسَّلَامِ, and the best among them is the one who starts with peace. So do not let the night rolls over with both of you being in dispute, not talking to one another, or sleeping in separate bedrooms. So resolve your issues and talk to one another. Find communication channels, whether you want to write to them or whether you want to tell them directly. Use the softest, the kindest, easiest words to explain to your spouse how you really feel, even if it means that it's going to hurt their feeling at that point of time. Be assured that they would respect you for being honest and saying the truth about how you feel. I think I'm running out of energy.
Okay, no problem. Well, see, as a closing, like final word, what I would like to share with our listeners is that remember, nobody can interfere or influence your marriage unless you let them do it. And I want to leave everyone with one hadith, that in this whole scenario we've covered most of the major bases.
Yes.
But when we look at the root cause, and we always say in any business, know your customer and know your competitor. So we talked about the customers, which is husband and wife and the children, biological and stepchildren, but we didn't talk about the competitors. And this hadith, I want everyone to pay attention. Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, verily Satan places his throne over the water and he sends out his troops. The closest to him in rank are the greatest at causing tribulations. One of them says, I have done this and this. The Satan says, you have done nothing. Another one says, I did not leave this man alone until I separated him from his wife.
Subhanallah.
Satan embraces him and he says, you have done well. So my question to all the listeners is, are you going to let the devil win? Because none of us wants to be called a loser. We get very upset if anybody calls us a loser. But if we lose from shaitan, what does this say about our mentality?
Subhanallah. Dear listeners, I think we have covered enough when it comes to marriage dispute, and most of you are very shy. You didn't call us and you left us alone in the wild, shooting ourselves in the foot. But inshallah, hopefully tomorrow you will call and we continue with domestic violence. See you from me, Hatim Al Abdissaalam, and Engineer Muhammad Farooq, and Ayub Al Busa'idi engineering the sound. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.